Right, welcome back to the 80 Star Basketball Channel, the only star basketball channel that is struggling with a prior evening holiday party. So this morning is a rough one, and I'm gonna try and pound through and make it and go. And but I really wanted to talk today on this episode. I gotta get it out this morning. So forgive me if I'm a little slow or there's details that I missed. Today is the day; it will happen. Um, but I wanted to today. I wanted to look at some 101s because I've been looking at there's been 101s that have been showing up that the last sales, and for most of the last little while I'm not impressed with the quality of what's gone on here, and I'm not making excuses for for sales coming down, that prices coming down. That's just natural, from the jump up, and I do think that they're going to start going back up again. And I think we're at or at the bottom enough. It might get a little choppy, I think, when you get to that spot, and then but obviously there can be a sale that comes in that surprises, and in the seasonal weakness for sure. But I do think that this is a good time to buy. People keep asking me, and I am looking at picking up some here in the next month or two if I can get that, because quite simply it's just it's the old adage, be greedy when others are fearful, and quite the opposite the other way. You just really got to go out. Don't worry what other people are doing, and buy the card for your budget, buy the card for your liking. If you love the card, I've always said this since I started the channel, if you love the card, get it. If you're just trying to trade a flip or whatnot, I can't offer you any advice, other than I think this card is undervalued still. Now it's gotten back to where I think it's again undervalued, and actually, even when it hit its peak for long term, I still thought it was undervalued. So, but in terms of price jumps, and you just have to obviously be careful when things shoot up really quick, because corrections can happen fast. Those are short term flip, people's perception of, people, if they perceive they can't short term flip it, then they'll back away. And then all of a sudden it's herd mentality. So, it was on full display with FOMO, and I was calling FOMO from, months ago, and saying, hey, just be careful. But as far as you liking the card, and this is still the card in the hobby. There's no other card that models like this. It's the Michael Jordan rookie card, limited limited amount. It is the only one that as again this last year, I got into different things. I want all star. I want to own every star bag. I would love to own all the uncut sheets. I would love all these things, but obviously it's going to take a lot of time. And with the price swings, I had to gauge and buy what I could, and then consolidate here and there. And I'm still doing that, and I'm trying to consolidate into one of another copy. So anyway, I've looked at some of the ones recent, and I've just seen how these are, and I've lined up a couple for right here from a viewer. Tim put in a couple of his cards here, and I want to show them off. That he has the 9 and he has the 8.5. And he sent me an email kind of detailing out, from his thoughts on the, what would cross over, why he's keeping it in BGS labs, people's perception of nines versus BGS. And I want to speak to that today a little bit. And I'll also talk to, this is his 7.5. But jumping back to what I've been seeing recently, there's 3 of the last 4 sales have been this type of card with a top heavy. I'm going to call it a non. I don't think it's an eye appealing. I know the top is supposed to be top heavy, but when it's too much on a full size, I just really, and everyone that I've talked to echoes the same sentiment. So I'm not trying to tear down your card if you own one, and if you're okay with it, that's fine. Again, I'm fine with the left right centering being off. That just looks totally normal to me now. And really nice ones that are centered look almost odd to me at this point. Like some of those nines, it just starts like this one right here. It's centered so well, it just kind of looks a little odd almost. Um, but you have right here, these top heavy ones. There's, again, that's just, you have 3 of the last 4, And people are saying, oh, like this 7.5, someone noted that, like, wow, what a low sale for a 7.5. And I'm thinking, not really at all. I mean, it's a good solid card. As far as the subgrades, I don't know if it does look that good, because it looks like there's white here. There's a lot of things on this card, but I can't tell if it's the scan or not. But honestly, this card, I don't even think would be a five. That's the equivalent. And again, I talked about this prior week, is that you really what's being priced is the PSA crossover, whether you like it or not, whether you love BGS or not. By the way, I love BGS slabs. However, that's what the market is doing. They're basically looking, going, what will this be a PSA price? That's just really what is happening. Except you have cases like this, which I'll talk to in a second, where this 8.5 is just a phenomenal copy. Um, and for these, what I've been looking at is, I've been looking at these big tops, and I'm kind of like, I don't like any of these, and I wouldn't purchase. That's why this 6 went so low. People are like, oh, PSA 6s are now this, and I'm like, no, you have to look at the card. This one even has white, and it looks like it has a little bit of edging, maybe, but it has two white corners. But I just, again, non-solid copies, people will notice and scrutinize severely on these copies. These copies are more condition sensitive than 86 Fleer and other condition sensitives. I mean, these are like old cards, vintage cards. And that's basically how condition sensitive they are. And with red borders, man, they're tough. I mean, it is just tough. By the way, this 8 sale, it looks like this 8 fell through and is back up again on the auction block. I did notice that, because it has that big thumbprint. I think people, this 8, to me, like, I don't think this would even be a 6 because of that. So this is going to price out accordingly. But it might be a 6, but this is 5 to a 6. It depends on how PSA is going to kind of look at that. So I wanted to talk about the copies. And anyway, so I also do want, if you want to send in, I do want to start looking at some of your collections. So if you want to send me, maybe, so if any viewers out there that you want to send me 4 or 5 pictures of your star collection or whatever, just limit it to that. And kind of, maybe you have a story to tell or whatnot. My email's in the description, and go ahead and send them to me, and I'll put them up. And we'll take a look at them, and if I have time and not doing something that week, I'll try and get to it and show them off. I love to show off what you guys got. So Tim, he sent me this 8.5, this 9, and this 7.5 right here. But if you do send them to me, I'm going to be honest. So I want to, honestly assess. Real quick, I'll just kind of go over. So Tim, thanks. And this 7.5 is a little unique, because you don't often see the tall boys with the bottom centering being bigger. So this is kind of a rare. And this picture is the glare is really tough, so I can't really evaluate it. But to me, this is kind of like an odd 7. But I would rather have the bottom be larger, even though the top is supposed to be bigger. This off-centered kind of doesn't look too bad at all. From a PSA perspective, it'd be fine, but I would much prefer the bigger bottom down here, if you're going to have it, instead of like the ones that I just showed, where it's got the let me try and find that again, where it's got the this one right here, where you've got like the big, up here and very little down here for a tall boy kind of thing. So I do actually kind of prefer this, but this to me is kind of a mid 7.5, nothing special about it. It's graded probably about right. But it's okay. Nothing, but it is a unique card, that's for sure. But these 8.5s, and one of the things that Tim is saying is, like, I don't know what to do really with this 8.5, and in some cases they look just as nice as 9s. And we all get a little biased with our cards. That's what's tough, is everyone goes, my copy is great. My copy shouldn't be a 7; it should be an 8. That we all do that. I do that. I think my 6.5 should be a 7.5. I look at some of the 7.5s and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing. And I have the mint OCD bug, is that I like mint cards. I don't care. Again, my bias is this left right centering does not bother me. And that is a personal flaw that I have in looking at this. But I'm so happy for it because I can, as long as I get, closer to a mint copy, that's what I'm looking for. So this 8.5, so I can't tell on the pictures, but just touches white, but it has 9.5. I have to go with maybe that edging right there. That little touch is why this got a 9. And pictures are so hard to tell when you actually get the cards in hand. These little touches of white right here are almost, you can't even see them. I've had my cards that I show, and I'm like, there's not even white on this corner. And on that picture it shows, and you're like, this sucks because there's no really white there. So I don't know if that's just me or if you guys have that thing too. But anyway, these are so nitpicky touch that I think that these are probably more glaring in the photo. And this 8.5, I'm going to pose the question: do you think that this 8.5 is better than this 9? And how do they compare to these PSA 9s? And again, with the pictures here, this has like a touch of white. These looking, it could be the photos. Obviously, I'm thinking it's glare because it comes off the photo here, but so it makes the photo look bad. So you kind of just already kind of just generally kind of look at this and go, eh. But if you saw it in person, you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's immaculate. So I can't tell if like that white's there, or so it's really hard to go by in this corner. Same thing kind of down here. This has a little white. This one, but this looks just really, really nice. You look at this PSA 9, but if I have the two copies, but these are all in similar, and this is a really nice 9, by the way, Tim. This one I've seen, this one looks better than the 9.5s. I'm sure I just pissed off the person with the 9.5s, but who has those. And but this is just, when I look at this, I got to pull up one of those 9.5s later. This is just absolutely deserving of a 9. And I don't really know why it's not a 9.5, to be honest with you. I see nothing. And it sucks that this glare is here because I can't really, evaluate it fully. It might be the top to bottom, but that's the way it should be right there. Like, I'm not seeing diamond cut. I'm just seeing like, this just looks amazing. So, maybe it's the corner thing, but I don't know. Those corners look almost, from a picture perspective, these corners look better than over here on this 8.5. So I don't really know what's going on. But Tim, one of the things he spoke to is that, people automatically assume when you have a BGS copy, it's 1 to 2 grades down. And and yes, that is true. You can't do it for every case, but you can do it almost as a rule of thumb now. It's almost 2 grades now as a rule of thumb, except for when you have odd copies like this that are severe quality, but trying to go to a PSA 9, it's looking at a massive fee, kind of difference in, okay, if I go here and try and grade it, will it cross over? But I think, and if I'm not, then I'm out fees. I believe you can put a min grade, and I think there's a cheaper route, and I did that at the show at the Burbank. I put one of mine in, and I think it was only. It's really just comes down to shipping and insurance on the way back, what you're willing to pay. But you can put a min grade, like you could take your 9 and say, okay, PSA 9, and you can take your 8.5 and put them up, and you can keep the fees in the hundreds, kind of thing, low hundreds, and try and get a PSA 9 crossover. And then the shipping back is obviously going to be the hit you're going to take there and be what's expensive. But they can be kind of a flat fee. And if it doesn't hit that min grade, then it's not like you're paying for the 9. You don't have a raw card. It doesn't even, you don't have to pay for an 8.5 type grading. So check out that service when you get to the next. I recommend going a show and trying that. Just do min grades on these. And if it doesn't make it, and if it does make it, you got a PSA 9, and boy, the world is green and happy and sunshine everywhere. But I do want to show that I agree with that. There's cards here like this 9. I would take this 9 just as easily as I would take this PSA 9. It really just comes down to the holder, and I don't see a difference. I buy the cards, not the grades. I'm not looking, obviously, if you're going to have a PSA 9 for the money, and there is some quality ones. I know Ryan and Dave, you guys are going to hear this and go, what? But there's some that are deserving, and Dave took the chance on some of them, like looking at it going, that is a quality 9. this is a severe quality card, regardless that it has a BGS 9, regardless if it was a PSA 9. Don't look at the holder, look at the card, and really go by that. And I think these are just as deserving. This one is a little. I would have to see this little white here again, but there's little white here that I would have to see on these PSA 9s. I can't tell if it's the photo or not. So really, it comes down to seeing these in person. But that's the only thing is right there on that. Other than that, this is a really solid copy. And I see 7.5s that I would say I would take this over. I've seen a 7.5 where I'd easily take this 8.5 over. And that's just for evaluating these cards. It is difficult. It is totally subjective. And because of the centering standards being so different for all of us, and PSA and BGS, there really is no perfect centering standard, because if this is how nature intended it, like this, I think this 8.5 and this 9 PSA, and like this, actually this 9, it's a little bit more top heavy. This is more like 50, 50, 50, 50. But these other three copies are more what was supposed to be. BGS was, doing it like that. The top is supposed to be a little bit bigger. So it comes down to what is the eye appeal for you, and what you're liking. And it makes it so difficult with 86 Fleer. It's super simple. 50, 50, 50, 50. It's a picture frame. These, it's not so much, because again, there's different cuts. You have tall boys, you have the factory shorts, and then you have the mids. And these three are all mids. Just normal. For the standard, the more common cut is this. So you will see these, and really, gosh, these are just phenomenal copies, and it's fun to look at. But you can't look at one and say the centering on that is perfect. PSA has their standard, BGS has their standard, and you have your own standard. What is the eye appeal to you? So again, it's just it makes it difficult to figure out. Quote unquote, there is no perfect copy. I don't think that there'll ever be a PSA 10. That is my opinion. I just don't see how, and I don't see how, it really. Would anyone else look at, even if PSA gave out a 10, would someone look at it and go, that is the most perfect? Would everyone look at it and go, that's the most perfect copy I've ever seen? I doubt it, because there's other ones like this. I take a look at this 9 and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yes, I get the centering over here is not as thick over here, and maybe that's where these are better. But to me, if you put these in front of me, I might, if I looked at the corners, I might take this 9 over this 9. That would just be my thing. So anyway, I just wanted to talk on these and look at some. We've been looking at so many non-quality copies for sale, and I apologize to whoever's picked up these. I'm not slamming your cards. I'm just saying, but there haven't been really big quality cards coming out, and when you have something like this where all where the people look at it and go, okay, that's the real deal right there. I'm going to bid high for this, because it just doesn't come up very often. There just aren't many quality copies, especially in BGS slabs. Most all those have gone over and crossed over to PSA. That's why the kind of looking at it now, you're looking at mainly 2 grades lower. And as a rule of thumb, I do think it applies, because except for cases like this, but these are rare. So, it's cool to see quality in BGS slabs. So anyway, just wanted to throw this out, and I will put out everyone have a great holiday, have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you next Sunday.